And you just like ran through that in bullet point form. So let's run through that again, but with like more detail into like the story of what you've been through.
For sure. So after I graduated university, I got a couple of small jobs working in financial firms, mostly in banking. Then I got a serious job at Revenue Canada working as a tax auditor. I started here off in Montreal first, but then I moved to Toronto. I was doing a lot of banking files, a lot of what they called underground economy files. And from there, I worked at Public Works.
So does that
It was the
mean like you were going through all the paperwork in to try to find all the black market stuff?
Exactly. Well, yeah. Well, part of it was black market stuff. A lot of it was legit stuff that was either being not reported properly or underreported.
Right. So weird. I guess there's probably a lot more happening in actual that world too. So in a sense, you were just kind of getting used to the world of accounting and how people can play with numbers.
For sure. Yeah, exactly. I saw a lot of that. And then once I was done with Revenue Canada, or back then it was called Revenue Canada, Canada Customs Remedy Agency. I worked at Public Works. That was at the time when they had the sponsorship scandal.
Okay.
Back then, they had to solidify their internal controls, make sure that they had proper procedures in place. So that was a fun job because you got to sort of mold a whole system. And then from there, I got the opportunity to work on organized crime files with the RCMP. So I did that for a little bit, and then I ended up getting a job as an investigator here in Montreal with l'Autorité des marchés financiers, who's Quebec's financial regulator. It's like the equivalent of the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission in the U.S., except for here in Canada, it's done provincially. So I worked there for a good almost 10 years, working on all kinds of market manipulation, Ponzi schemes, insider trading, mostly stuff like that.
Yeah, that's wild. And especially in Montreal, which I understand has a lot of that kind of stuff without going into a lot of details. Uh,
Yeah.
but I guess from like a practical experience point of view, that gives you a lot of insight for how the wheels really work because you're looking at all the greasing.
Exactly, and it was my jobs in the provincial government. I also worked a lot of Quebec for a brief period of time, but it was my jobs in the provincial government that was an eye opener to see how really crooked government can be.
Wow. So you're like auditing the government or just like stuff around the government or
Stuff around the government, but like what you see in government, like yeah, it was stuff around government. Like you go after private sector people, like people that are not part of the government, but doing pretty much the same thing that people within the government do.
wow. So that's crazy. So you did that for like a significant period of time, I guess, based on that.
Yeah,
Like this
almost a
this whole
decade.
and that's like a fiscal detective. Fair. Which is pretty practical if the hot issue is this budget issue.
Exactly.
um that's cool. So what happens after you're going through all that?
Then I ended up getting jobs at the private sector in finance, and I'm working now in the finance industry.
And how do you go from I guess the finance industry to you're like now a political candidate guy that just like appeared like that? That's like an interesting transition.
Actually, well, it was sort of the reason why I got involved in Montreal politics started off with it was right shortly after the election. There's a councillor that claimed that another candidate offered him some kind of deal or some kind of position. So we ended up, me and someone else was in the community. We ended up raising a flag about that, and one of the counselors sort of thought it was a joke, wasn't really taking it seriously, and was sort of making fun of this lady who was also mentioning this as an issue. So we pushed it to the point where UPAC got involved, the Elections Quebec got involved, but I mean they didn't find anything wrong because most likely the two people who that were involved lawyered up and discussed what to say when they met with investigators. So that thing all sort of fell apart. But I mean, it sort of it showed that the city of Montreal is not really clean at all. It's dirty. I mean, the city's dirty,
I love
and
the
sort of, and
fact.
that's sort of how I got in. And then sort of we were looking at the budget issues. We were looking at why NGD, CDN-NDG is getting the screw job in terms of the budget versus other cities. We were a group. We ended up meeting with the borough mayor. She was nice enough to invite us. And we came to the conclusion that when the city says that there's a formula, that's complete bullshit. There's no formula. If there is a formula, it's like for 20% of the budget or for a insignificant amount. Most of it's done behind closed doors.
That's wild. How do you? I guess how do you figure out something like that?
Because the numbers are it doesn't jive for any type of formula. It's not right that CDN-NDG or Ashalaga, which is almost like the symbol of poverty in the city, we end up getting like the screw job when it comes to the budget. You got Ville Saint Laurent that gets a lot of money. It's there's something not right. If there is a formula, we're getting the crap end of it. It'd be nice for them to show us what the formula is. Let's see what is that formula.
Mm. And I guess when you're saying this, it carries the extra weight that you actually understand what white collar funny business is in like a more visceral sense. So like I feel like your passion's not the same as the other people's passions.
I I like calling out people on their bull.
I appreciate that. Don't get me wrong.
And I have there's a lot of bull going on at the city hall, at the borough office. It's there needs to be a cleanup there.
And yeah, so we just got a comment. And there's never been proof of anything showing this formula to anyone.
We've never been able to see any formulas, none at all.
And does this formula like supersede the current Mayoral thing, or is it like a long-standing myth, or is it just like a current issue?
This is one counselor referred me to some document from 2014 or 2016, which gave the framework for how the city does their budgets. But when you ask for details, when you ask for any formulas or anything like that, they're unable to give it to you.
Okay. So basically, the whole budget issue made you feel very passionate on actually coming into this political situation.
Yeah, yeah.